Hello. Welcome back. This is the third episode of Marginal Advice, the podcast.
Wait, did you actually make an intro?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. So good to be here.
We made it. Yeah.
We did. We're still doing it. We haven't given up after the first two episodes.
Yeah, even though the first two episodes aren't even posted yet.
I mean, don't say that. Don't tell the people to break the fourth wall of the production.
Just wait till we don't talk about current events that have happened.
It's okay. Inflation is an ongoing current event that's unlikely to go anywhere too quickly.
Yeah,
so
unfortunately.
I feel like I will be good for a bit. This will be evergreen for, well, hopefully not forever.
Hopefully not ever.
Yeah.
Temporary green.
I leaked the topic, inflation, although maybe the title also gave that away.
Spoiler for 30 seconds from now.
I feel like this is maybe one of the topics out there, finance related, that we could cover that sort of is, in the everyday realm of thoughts for people these days, because I think most people are noticing that prices are higher now than they were a year or two ago. And as to why that is, well, we'll go into it, I guess. Our hypotheses, what it could be.
We can talk about it a little bit, but unfortunately with this one, it's not something with a real straight answer. A lot of people try to answer this question, and we're certainly not going to be the ones to do it completely properly. So we'll give you as best a hypothesis as anyone else can, and we'll be talking about Costco dogs and house prices and haircuts in between. So
let's go.
That's your hook or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting in like looking up YouTube videos about like inflation 2022 as a search term, and there aren't too many that very confidently go into these are the inputs that have caused inflation to take place definitively. And so I certainly don't want to pretend to know more than economists who could potentially be helping to write those videos. But I do think there are some likely culprits. Before we get into them, though, I feel like maybe we should just use this graph here. Look at this graph. And just a little Nickelback.
Nickelback.
Look at this photograph. Yeah. Look at this graph.
Also, that's really interesting. You're not currently sharing your screen. I don't know what we're looking at currently.
Well, I'm the Bureau of Labor. The interactive graph that you provided. Yes,
last week I can find that. Costco killing someone. Other graphs. Spoiler.
So this is a nice interactive chart here over the last 20 years of CPI. Over the past, change over the last 12 months, and it defaults to everything, and you can see it peaks at 9.1% right now in June 2022. But then it's so nice, you can go into individual categories and just see how depressing everything is.
Yeah. Food at home. Because you click the first one, food at home, and it says, oh, wow.
13.5. Food's going up quite a bit. Way worse. And then you click energy.
And then you click energy, and it goes, and compresses, and... Well, it's nothing compared to European energy, but we'll get into that. That's quite unfortunate.
Whew. June 2022, energy CPI, 41.6%.
Wow.
That's, that's one of the ones that I think has a somewhat more definitive reason as to why it kind of ramped up so quickly in like Q2 of this year. But it is still very elevated back from May 2021 even. Electricity, not quite as bad as energy, but it seems like, you click on most of the things and you're like, oh, they're well above that 9.1% baseline. Huh. And the thing is, energy is an input for basically everything. And so if energy costs go up, then all of a sudden the costs for everything else that requires energy in order to make are going to go up. Did something fly into your eye?
Yeah, my eyelashes are inflating right now, and one is just making its way into my cornea.
When you say your eyelashes are inflating,
they're getting more plentiful, but it's bad. The price, if there were a count of eyelashes in my eye and that was a price, it'd be going up.
I don't think that's how eyelashes work.
Yeah, see, one more than zero just went into my eye.
Well,
and
okay, so
the
the eyelashes inside of your eye are experiencing inflation.
The number of eyelashes in my eye is experiencing inflation.
That's what I said. Okay, I thought you were saying like the amount of eyelashes that you have is experiencing inflation. I was like, I don't think it works that way.
Kind of. I'm actively working on growing more.
Are you now? Yeah? A little bit of Rogaine on your eyelashes or something?
Passively. I meant...
I feel like on the bottle it probably says, do not put in eyes. But you're like, I don't care about that.
In the bottle of eyelashes?
In the bottle of, Rogaine or whatever you use to like stimulate. That's a hair growth
The podcast?
What? Oh.
Joe Rogaine?
This is the Joe Rogaine experience.
Welcome to the...
Would you like to inflate your hair numbers? Then check out our sponsor, please.
Joe Rogaine doesn't... he probably couldn't get that sponsor.
No, he probably couldn't. He'd be like, it didn't work for me.
No. I saw a picture of him with hair and it was unnatural. I was thinking, wow, this is strange.
It's just a style at that point.
Yeah, exactly. It's like seeing The Rock with hair at this point. And by that, I just mean another bald dude with hair, not really conflating them in any way.
I'm just clicking through all of the stuff on the... Oh, yeah, dude, look at gasoline, all types with a nice 59.9%.
But hey, very, very lovely, sharp crash in the past few months.
Yeah, well, why are the gas stations near me not... They're not dumping their prices at all.
Yeah, I think I drove around near you and I'm like, whoa.
Bro, there's a gas station. There's a gas station. They're bumping up against $8 right now. They're known to be there's two gas stations that are kind of known to be
I think I know which one you're talking
about. Well, the one at Fairfax and San Vicente is just known to be the most absurd prices in the entirety of LA. And
they should brand themselves.
They should. People somehow are stopped there every time. I don't know if they're basically running on fumes and they're like, oh God, I have to fill up here, or if they just don't care. But I haven't seen what their prices are. But the other one that's at La Cienega and Beverly, that one's bumping at $8 right now. And they dropped at a low point that as far as I saw, like down to $6.50. That was like their lowest. Now they're right back up. Wow,
really running a bargain at $6.50.
But oil is $80 right now. So I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
What's going on? It sure seems like when oil goes from $80 to $140, the gas stations are really quick.
That correlates in the price. Yes.
Yeah.
But when it goes down, I think we need to check this first. We need to make sure our numbers are right. We got to talk to each other, make sure everything's going okay. Make sure we can...
Oh, my God. Well, in any case, gas is nasty, obviously. Natural gas, good, pretty clear reasons we'll get into as to why that's had a nice little bit of a rocket ship more recently. Cars are great, man. I got a good anecdote from going into a car dealership recently. And
I'm glad we know your stance on cars, Jordan.
Cars.
I swear, those things are something, really.
Looking at cars used to be fun. It's not fun anymore, and it pains me. It's just annoying. Anyway, okay, so clearly prices for many, many things, they're very up versus where they were at. As far as the why, there's it's obviously there's no specific concrete reason, but I want to list off some things and then we can kind of go into them one by one or whatever makes sense as we go. I think you've got a combination of, there's been for decades now, quantitative easing started really, really heavily back in 2008 with the global financial crisis. But even before that, you had lowering interest rates ever since the 80s, and it kind of came to a head during COVID, alongside quantitative easing, and that all contributes to the wealth effect. The wealth effect being you have assets that have appreciated in value, and even though that's not necessarily cash in your bank account, if you bought a house for $100,000 and now all of a sudden, like 30 years later, that house is worth $1 million, you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable making a higher value purchase or spending more money because you know you have that kind of to back you up in your back pocket as an asset. The wealth effects really came into play, especially during COVID when interest rates dropped basically to zero. And you had the PPP program, which a lot of that went to people who were making a significant amount of money and kind of bolstered their pocketbooks and made people feel like, oh, I can get this essentially like free money loans and allows you to feel more comfortable making purchases. So I think the wealth effect is one contributing factor, and that kind of came to a crescendo during COVID lockdowns. You also had during COVID demand spikes for goods because services weren't really available because things were locked down. And then that also led to supply shocks for those goods, drives the price up when there's not enough supply for more demand. And then most recent big catalyst, obviously, being the war in Ukraine, starting around February, March. And that's really, I think that's one of the more concrete things that can be attributed, especially
in European markets.
Yeah, natural gas, especially. Well, it's also contributing to food because fertilizer is a big export from that area. And so fertilizer prices drive up dramatically. And that is an input into food, as well as energy is an input into food. So food is going to be a slightly lagging indicator behind the energy inflation. But certainly, everything requires energy for the most part.
Yeah.
And so,
unfortunately, right now in European markets, we got, if you pull up that graph right there, graph 1, I forgot to name it. It's the currently skyrocketing price of electricity and natural gas in the EU.
Yes, this one.
You can just see the exponential right around when the war started, obviously.
Whew.
Just.
So yeah, anecdote about that is I know someone from Sweden, and he said that his power bill 10x'd. Which is crazy.
What do you do at that point?
I don't know.
If you're European, let us know what you do about this as well.
What you do in general on a day-to-day basis.
I just kind of want to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, and then also about the electricity bill. But I can't even imagine, dude. So the highest energy bills that I get hit with are for August and September, because that's when I'm running my AC the hardest. Because it's hot. And I can hit about...
You should just dump some water on yourself. It's a lot easier, costs a lot less power. I gotta say.
Tile floors, it should be fine in theory.
Yeah.
It's very convenient. I'm just like, my AC, my bill can get up to $500 for 1 month. And I'm just imagining it's in a 2-month bill. So it's $1,000 bill, basically, because it's 2 months at a time. A $10,000 electricity bill. Whew. Oh my God, dude.
Just the price of a car to keep the lights on and the AC.
Maybe a car last a couple of years ago.
Too many cars. And a deflated car.
Maybe in the old days, back before everything was being marked up to heck. But yeah. Oh my God, I cannot imagine that being. And then that's also like, add that to the inflation combating measure of raising interest rates, and a lot of people's loans in Europe, they're variable rates. Like 30-year fixed rate mortgages are kind of a thing here.
Yeah, it's a U.S. thing. Variable rates are pretty much what you have all around Europe.
And so he also had like a 0%, and now. I don't remember what it went up to, but I mean, just your payment just through the roof. Like and
at the worst time,
basically, yeah. No, like I've looked at homes. For the past few years, I've just browsed, and if there's something that pops up, I'll look into it. But for an equivalent mortgage right now, because I'm at 2.75%, I would basically be paying 50% more per month. But that's due to that's trying to combat inflation, but it's raising the prices of the monthlies, but you expect that houses would come down as a result. They haven't yet, but they might.
Soon.
Anyway, soon.
Hopefully.
TM.
Hopefully if you don't own a house. Maybe not so hopefully if you do, but
honestly, if you I would be happy to have the value of my home decrease if it meant that I could then, because at the end of the day, like if I could then acquire a more valuable home using cash that I have on hand in reserve, then maybe I would have to deal with some pain with like a higher payment due to the high interest rate. But over time, you would expect that the interest rates would kind of go back down again. You could refinance, and then the value of the home would go up. So maybe another home that you'd get would appreciate at all. The funny thing, I really haven't seen much appreciation in my home, but I can tell you,
That's what I'm saying.
I bet you when the interest rates hit hard, it'll see some depreciation.
Yeah.
Boy.
But it's weird that your place hasn't appreciated, but
maybe I overpaid in the beginning. Maybe, but there were comparable sales that were taking place, and I've seen others in my area that haven't. They also it's same thing, not really appreciated. So,
also though, do you think maybe the overall rise in housing costs is kind of related to the greater trend nowadays of kind of larger entities getting into the realty market, BlackRock, Zillow, buying up houses to as an investment rather than single owners? I
feel like I'm gonna get vilified, and it's gonna be an unpopular opinion to say I don't think that is responsible for pushing up the market. I'm not going into the ethics behind it, but as far as driving up prices, I don't think that corporate buyers are responsible for that. I think you have like low interest rates. Just when during COVID, interest rates for a mortgage came down to you could do 2.5% basically.
Yes,
all
congratulations.
All of a sudden, you can afford a much more expensive house because you can afford the monthly payment on it. And therefore you say, oh, you know what? If things actually didn't get as bad as I thought during COVID, all right, I can now work remotely. So maybe I can move to that place I was interested in elsewhere. I think you probably had an exodus from like bigger cities. So bigger cities probably didn't see as much of a rise as much as maybe more desirable suburbs, that sort of thing. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, heck yeah, 2.5%. Yeah, I'm going to be at my house more often, so maybe I'll stretch a little bit more because now this is kind of going to be my sanctuary if I'm here all day. And I don't know if that mentality played into it, but I mean, that certainly for me, at least, helped me justify like stretching for my home because I work from home and it's like, well, it kind of doubles as home and office. So I might as well make sure it's a place that I want to be at. Again, that's speculation. I don't know if that drove more purchases, but I do think that the ability to work from home definitely drove some behavior changes.
Yeah, I'd think so. I'd agree with that. Plus, the interest rates, as we have seen from this other graph, completely. You can see around 2008, that's when it started going way down because of recession, and they're trying to kind of pick the economy back up again. And then it stayed low, and it eventually started to rise, and because they had to get back to baseline, and then surprise, we got a little cold, little virus, little COVID here and there. And so then they, after that, completely tanked the economy. They also, you can see this sharp decline, almost a vertical line in interest rates where they lowered it to near 0% to encourage the economy to grow. And it did a lot over the past couple of years. And now grew a little bit too much too fast. And that's why we're making this episode, inflation.
Yep.
And now you can see they are increasing rates faster than it seems they have done, at least in the past couple decades. There's a zoomed out chart. Maybe in the 80s, they went faster up.
Yeah, in the 80s, it went very, very high. More. Yes.
But in the past few decades, they're going up a little more quickly than
in terms of a percentage increase, it is fairly unprecedented. But again, you're obviously starting at zero. So it's, the percentages are obviously going to be fairly wild. But yeah, it's an unprecedented rise in interest rates. It's also worth mentioning, though, that the long end of interest rates, say like the 20s and the 30s, those kind of came down in more of a, linear fashion. Like here in 2008, when the Fed funds hit zero, or 2009, long end was still higher. So it didn't have the same effect on mortgages as the COVID drop over here. So over here at the 2020 is really kind of where mortgages hit their lowest, and that contributed a lot to lower payments and people being able to afford a higher amount. If you think about it, basically the interest rates and principal are just kind of different sides of the scale. The higher the interest rate, the lower the value, the principal, and vice versa. So lowering interest rates and quantitative easing. Quantitative easing is another tool that the Fed has outside of lowering interest rates. If lowering interest rates isn't enough because the interest rates are already extremely low, then they will actually purchase bonds that are in the banking system in order to increase the supply of cash on hand for banks that the banks can then lend out in order to stimulate growth. So that's the reason for quantitative easing. And that
you can see that actually played out on this. I'm sorry for all the charts. Audio listeners, we're trying to explain them. But yeah, in this, the central banks, excuse me, the balance sheets, you can see a little bit, if you'll notice, a bit of a bump in 2020 in order to stabilize economy a bit. More that I didn't get it back to the 70s or anything, but ever since 2008, this is the largest rise in a long time.
But the money supply has only ever really increased.
Right.
So this is, it's. Here's the thing. You can think about supply and demand in that, like, there are more people who want to buy a thing, and therefore the price of that thing goes up. But on the other hand, if you just simply double the amount of money that is in the system, that's also going to double the cost of those things. This is what people, jokingly refer to as the money printer, is quantitative easing, because it is injecting money by buying bonds and putting them on the Fed.
Poof up some money and buy some bonds. Now, and there goes the money.
And now they are obviously reversing course. Quantitative tightening is the opposite of that.
They're actually, for the first time, other than that little dip when they maybe overextend themselves in 2020, it is starting to taper off in sort of a natural tightening fashion. Since April, it seems, April 4th. That's when it started its decline.
And every FOMC, they keep reiterating the exact same thing, and people are you sure? But when are you going to stop raising the interest rates? Are you sure? When will you know? Do you think you'll ever pause a little bit and just be like, we might have raised them a little bit too much? But they're like, no, we're going to keep raising them until we reach our target inflation rate of 2%.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it from the Fed funds rate graph, where it goes up more in like a few months than it did in 4 years from 2016 to 2020. Like from that period, they were like, okay, let's be a little dove flying around, kind of just raising it. And then they're like, all right, it's time.
They definitely, like, the inflation is transitory quote and stance
Yeah.
stuck around a little bit too long.
Yeah. That's, I think, what diminished the general trust in, especially like every time in these meetings, people, are you sure about that? Are you're really going to ask this again? It's because they kept saying, yeah, no, everything, we're good. No, it's all right. Until very recently, they decided it was not actually so fine.
I think the writing really was sort of on the wall at like the end of 2021, but it did really take the Russian invasion of Ukraine to kind of finally force them to act. And so, on top of the lowering interest rates, quantitative easing, and then the supply shocks and whatnot during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
That's
everyone, an injection of money into the economy, a large amount. And then coupled with nobody being able to work, especially in supply, because you can't, you're inside, you're got to be quarantined, especially towards the beginning. So supply chains down while money is up. That's going to cause a lot of inflation down the line.
Yep.
But
it's a hangover of
Yes.
lots of loose monetary policy for a couple decades, essentially, or you could say since 2008 at the very least. But it's a hangover that's exacerbated, of course, by the war in Ukraine. And I don't have all the stats in front of me as to what percentage of exports, as far as bread, natural gas, especially in Europe, come from Russia and Ukraine combined. But it's fairly sizable amounts, and it's completely restricted the supply. I mean, you have the sanctions that it's like they've basically had to make exceptions to the sanctions in order to be like, okay, we're not going to do all these things, but we really do still need the natural gas. We really don't need but we really do still need the natural gas. So we'll do a little carve out on that one because we kind of can't not have it.
Yeah. I say they should break a couple pipelines in the ocean and just have that gas all explode and escape. Seems like that
would probably make
next
things
step
significantly worse, but that's also kind of, what happened. It's not exploding in the atmosphere, but the pipeline.
Not exploding.
The official stance is that the pipeline was sabotaged, right?
Yeah, that is what, by whom?
And I think Russia said, "Oh, it was the United States." Okay.
Yeah.
But all right. Anyway. Cool.
But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff happening at some inopportune times.
It's very much a perfect storm. But on the other hand, I'm sure that if they didn't do the massive money printing and stimulus during COVID, then we would have seen another impact of COVID. We don't know exactly how that would have played out. It would have been the immediate, maybe not hangover, maybe it's the immediate, I got so drunk I'm throwing up now instead of the headache the next day. We don't know how that would have turned out if the stimulus hadn't been there. So it was essentially just kicking the can down the road, which is it's a popular thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, back in 2021, everyone was saying, oh man, it's going down. It's going to crash soon. But nobody wanted to pull the lever because everyone's making so much easy money to be made by people businesses and big investors and stuff. But so they didn't want to stop it, and until the war in Ukraine happened, and they really had an excuse, the Fed, to start it, as you said. Then finally it's starting to go down. But everyone was kind of thinking, oh, it's going to come to an end. But we were all playing along, it will later.
I mean, everyone, no one wants the music to stop, but you also don't want to be the last one left when it does. It's even without the war in Ukraine, though, the trajectory, it was already heading in the wrong direction. There was obviously discussions of inflation kind of permeating the media before the war even began. And I mean, it's simply not sustainable to have interest rates that low for such a long time. And even if the war hadn't happened, if interest rates were to remain that low, inflation would have happened due to the wealth effect, with assets simply just continuing to go up in value due to loans being so cheap. And as inflation happens, it basically assists in wiping away loan balances because they diminish because the amount you owe on the loan is fixed. But if inflation, goes out of hand, as long as you're able to make an amount that keeps up with it, hopefully, then that essentially lowers the balance of your loan to pay out. It's not a sustainable environment to be in. But you do want to have some amount of inflation. There's a reason why the target is 2%, and deflation is also harmful to the economy. And that's because if you have deflation, then you say, okay, well, I have this money, but it's going to be worth more if I wait. So I'm not going to spend it now. And all of a sudden people stop spending, and, the machine needs to be fed. People got to be spending their money for the economy to function. So that's why you want a little bit of inflation, so that that your cash is going to be worth less. So you might as well just, buy what you need to buy now, because it's not going to get any better, right?
Yeah.
Unless hopefully you can invest and grow it long term.
It's natural. It's nice to be like, now worker wages go up, and that hopefully, and it goes along with, I'm not sick. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
There is, so that actually, the fact that, mentally with deflation, you think, I'm not going to spend now because it'll be more valuable later, so I'll wait. That also ties into inflation a bit, in that one other cause of inflation is actually, it's psychological. It's inflation expectations. Because if you think inflation is going out of control, then you're going to say, okay, well, things are going to be way, way, way more expensive next year, so I may as well make the purchases now. And all of a sudden, you're going to
demand,
more demand,
which makes more pricey.
Yep. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's like you almost need to, by the Fed increasing the interest rate so quickly, it might give people some confidence that inflation is going to get back under control, even if there is a lot of pain to it, and then not contribute to that self-fulfilling inflation expectation prophecy. So I think
in the
that
short
is part
term,
of it.
So in the short term, that makes markets go quite a bit down, especially if it's over what is expected, the rate that is, because obviously it's going to slow down the economy. But long term, it's much healthier than just having runaway low interest rates and high inflation. And that's why even when interest rates go up, but they go up as expected rather than higher than expected, you'll see a big up in the economy that day.
Well, you'll see it's interesting to watch like TLT, which is the long-term bond ETF, because if the Fed announces a rate hike, if it is in line with expectations, or below, say the general consensus is there's going to be a 75 basis point hike, if they announce 0.5, if they announce a 50 basis point hike, TLT will very likely rally off of that, because it's the price is based on interest rate expectations rather than the actual Fed funds rate. But it's also why you see the short end of the curve, like the 2-year right now, it's inverted. So the 2-year is a higher paying interest rate than the 30-year. And that's because people think, okay, it's going to go back down in the long run. So I'd be happy to lock in, like, say, 3.8% on my 30-year. But I think it's going to keep going up in the short term. So I would rather be compensated highly right now for these 2 years, because I think interest rates might still go up in the meantime. And, I don't want to be left holding the bag or not getting a coupon payment that I could get in another month from now. So that's why you have the higher interest rates for the shorter term bonds, because that part of the curve, which is on this part of the curve because I'm mirrored, this part is more volatile. and will likely, people are betting that it's going to come down in the long term after some short-term pain, essentially.
Right. I was going to ask you earlier, what side of the screen is my hand on right now for you?
It is on the right side.
The right side. Okay, that's good. That means
That's good. Yeah.
it's mirrored for me too. So I'm thinking, what way do I?
Well, no, it's more so just like if I'm illustrating a graph, I always forget that I need to do it. Reverse for myself.
Wait, am I reversing it this time because I'm talking to someone, or am I doing
reverse it to
straight?
you?
But if I'm thinking, is it flipped? And so I'm trying to show people. Like, hold on. But good, I know which way to move my hands.
I probably messed it up like half the time I've been doing it, and so people are like, "Wait, is it going up? Is it going down? Which way? Which way is it going?"
I could flip you every time you make a graph to the correct orientation.
It's okay. The microphone is probably like concealing the majority of it anyway, so it's fine.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the microphone's a reference point.
No, it's just obscuring the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of reference point, I actually wanted to mention that 2.5 inflation, or around 2% inflation, that's healthy for the economy. That means, if you did the math on it, that means the price of something, bread, gas, whatever, on average, will double every 28 years. That's kind of a normal, healthy inflation rate. Whereas if you have something higher, such as, I got a little note here about the end of World War I, beginning of the Spanish flu, the inflation rate rose to 20.4%.
Okay. I didn't know it got that high. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty sizable.
That means instead of 28 years, you buy a piece of bread 4 years ago, you want to buy that same bread, that same soup today, double the price, 4 years. That is astronomical, relatively speaking.
So that's why 20% returns on your investment is also very, very good. It doesn't sound that glamorous, but if you can average 20% for an extended period of time, you're doing very, very, very well.
That's what we in the business call a callback to a previous episode. It didn't go the right way. Oh,
nice pen flip.
And I was playing with that pen. I wanted to.
Hold on. Little pen flip action.
Whoa!
Ooh, there it goes. Ooh, there it is. I used to occupy myself in school by quite a lot.
I still occupy myself.
Probably annoyed people a lot. They were
I can't find the pen, but I have this breadstick. So how do you? So I can go like this, where you manipulate it.
Is that a real breadstick? Yes.
You'll never know.
Yes.
I like that you think it is.
So is it a Costco hot dog bun?
Speaking of Costco hot dog buns, actually, I think I have a more Costco hot dog bun-esque looking piece of bread over here. Yes, I do. This one is... I lied. This is a normal hot dog bun shaped piece of bread. That's a hot dog. Hot dog dogs are long. And you know what? Per inch of hot dog, you are getting a steal, because despite good earnings, Costco has not raised its membership prices for this quarter.
I'm not a Costco member personally, but I mean it seems like they've got good prices on stuff. This stream not sponsored by Costco, but if they want to sponsor us, I'm sure we'd be receptive to it.
I wish
Conoco Phillips?
I wish Conco Phillips, yeah. I don't know who that is. So, who is that? I would like to know, actually. Just one sentence.
76 gas stations.
76 gas stations. I think there's a little more than that.
They probably do have more locations than 76 76s, but have you not LA'd enough to see 76 gas stations?
Oh, yes, I have, because The one time I actually drove around outside that wasn't to the grocery store or something.
Me too. Me IRL.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to bring up that joke from last time that something
What do you mean last
happen.
time?
No, nothing. But yeah, we drove around and my coworker said, go here, go there, go everywhere. And it was a running gag. Like, hey, look at that 76 gas station.
Were there a lot of them? Did you find 76 in that drive?
Oh, you should have a bingo sheet with 76 boxes, and they're all gas stations. They're all 76 gas stations, and so you can just bingo.
76s. 76 bottles of gas on the wall. 76 bottles of gas. Take one down, pass it around.
Now there's a fire.
So, you had mentioned
1932. What a ripoff! That's when 76 gas station was founded. Excuse me. So, yes, Costco has not raised its membership prices, nor has it raised its prices on its hot dogs. It's $1.50 hot dogs. It is, and. You know, they were considering raising their prices. This might be well known by now by a lot of people, but I'm going to say it anyway because some people don't. They were going to raise their prices. CEO of Costco, Craig Jelinek, just remembered that all on my own. He said, yeah, we really got to raise the prices of these dogs to, you know, keep up with inflation. That's the topic. And so that's not the notes, Doc. And so the founder answered him and said, hey, if you raise the price of that hot dog, I will kill you. Figure it out.
That's intimidating.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
The CEO's like, I've never been threatened to be killed before. I don't know how to respond to this.
Certainly not over some dogs. Actually, there's what?
Just like, you're the founder of Costco. You probably can facilitate that operation.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's two founders of Costco. This was one of the co-founders, James Senegal, and yeah, he actually responded to this. This is true. I have a Snopes article here.
It is confirmed true.
It's confirmed. Not even a partial confirmation. It is true. Period.
Not changed.
They don't actually use grammar in the true.
It's not changed since 1985.
1985.
So what is it?
Wow.
What is the cost of a hot dog right now in 1985 dollars? Like, are we talking? It's like a 30-cent hot dog or something like that? It's got to be.
Oh, well,
it's got to be pretty cheap.
Well, wouldn't you know? In 1985 dollars, a hot dog was $1.50.
Yes, I know that, but I'm saying now, if you took a $1.50 hot dog now, what would that equivalent be in 1985? Like a 15-cent 1985 hot dog?
Well, I did the forward calculation while I was making that first misinterpretation joke, and wouldn't you know it? $1.50 in 1985 is $4.20 today.
Okay, so just divide by that.
So the Snopes article here, I actually have an excerpt I'd like to read off. I have lost it. Found it again. Here it is. Okay, so this was at a press conference, I believe, for Costco, the company. CEO came, and CEO says, I came to Jim Senegal once, and I said, Jim, we can't sell this hot dog for $1.50. We're losing our rear ends. And he said, oh yeah, didn't we determine that Jim Senegal, where he's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What did we determine people from Pittsburgh sound like?
I don't know. I never heard this before.
Yeah. In that dream I had, what did we determine Pittsburgh people sound like?
I don't know, because I don't want to offend people from Pittsburgh, so this is all you.
Oh, if you're from Pittsburgh, you got to talk. If I had to guess, if you talk to someone from Pittsburgh, they would probably sound a little bit like this.
I know some people from Pittsburgh, and they just sound similar.
Oh,
to
yeah?
me, but that's okay. We can imagine it.
Do they ever say, hello, I am from Pittsburgh?
They actually introduce themselves like that. Every single one of them. It must be a Pittsburgh thing.
I knew that's how they sounded.
Yep.
And so Jim Cynical says, hello, I am from Pittsburgh. If you raise the effing hot dog, effing is verbatim. He was at a press conference. He's not going to curse out these reporters or whatever he's talking to. I will kill you. Figure it out. And honestly, this is so funny because the next sentence is the CEO saying, that's all I really needed. And they didn't. They kept it. They kept it 150 and they actually made it profitable. And they did so because not only is the owner conceded that raising it to 175 or something wouldn't be a big deal.
Wouldn't be a big deal, except he'd be dead. So.
Yes. So, 25 cents on a hot dog and one dead CEO, not that big a deal, not the Costco.
But then he decided that he wanted to stay alive, and he's like, okay, let's vertically integrate these hot dogs. So
yes, they made their own, Kirkland, Costco's manufacturing company, they made their own hot dog line, their hot dog production company. It is a number of miles north of our current location, relative, and they produce their own hot dogs now. And he says we keep it at 150, make enough money to get a fair return. And the last sentence of this Snopes article is, because the story comes from Jelinek himself, the claim is true. Period.
And because he's alive, and it is true.
He is alive. The CEO was not murdered. Therefore, $1.50 hot dogs are here to stay. Jordan,
I've never had one.
You've never had one?
Never had one. Is the soda the same, or has that gone up in price?
I believe the other items, I think, have gone up in price. Yes.
Oh, so the CEO was just like, yeah, we'll keep the hot dogs $1.50, but the soda is now $5.
See, this manufacturing plant is right next to Yosemite, and I don't know. Yosemite's not a wonder of the world, but it's a national landmark.
The waterfall in Yosemite is Coca-Cola. Yeah. It's actually Willy Wonka. Get their fresh mountain cola.
They're like this. I would say even that they are.
I don't even know if I've never witnessed one in person. That is a big dog.
This is like a Mastiff or something. I also can't hear you. I barely heard you there. But yeah, Jordan, it is a travesty that you have never had one of these $1.50 dogs.
One day, if this is a successful eventual podcast, then one day we'll make a special outing to go to Costco as the ultimate callback to episode 3.
I was gonna take you to Costco for our next dinner or whatever we do, and buy you one of them dogs.
No, we gotta save it. It's got to be the real Some people do champagne. Pour a bottle of Dom. We're gonna cheers Costco.
We're gonna cheer dogs.
Yes. And who knows? By that time, it'll still be 150. But who knows? That'll be the deal of the century, maybe in the next couple of years, if inflation doesn't get back under control.
Yeah.
Hey, Arizona iced tea also very similar.
True. Yeah, Arizona iced tea. The owners are, I think they're from New Jersey, and I read an article where they said, yeah. I can't do an exact New Jersey accent. I'm not going to try. Because I feel like I can do almost an accent, and that's worse.
I'm leaving the accents to you here.
Okay. Here's... all right. Here, I can do a South Floridian accent while I do this one. So, the guy from New Jersey, he said, yeah, we just... We could raise the prices, and we are starting to lose money on this, but we just feel like 99 cents, we don't need to. We're still profitable, and we can keep the drinks at 99 cents because they're just that good. They're a family-owned business.
Yeah,
I
they
believe.
can't do it as a loss leader, which is more impressive. Costco has enough revenue coming in from their other sources that even if the hot dogs became a loss for them to sell at $1.50, they'd be able to make it up elsewhere. Arizona can't really do that. They have their product, and they're not like under a big conglomerate. Maybe they'd get an offer to get bought out. I'm sure they had millions of offers to get bought out and probably turned it down.
They probably turned them down. Saints.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, eventually, if it becomes a loss to sell them at 99 cents, then I don't know. I'd be willing to pay the little, the 5 cents extra or something like that, just to be like, look, guys, it's okay. We don't expect you to be like donating your Arizona iced tea to my stomach. So.
Yeah, they've held it off for so long that at this point, I believe you can ethically buy Arizona iced tea.
But yeah, not too many companies take that stance on things. I'm curious though. What do you think? Do you have faith that inflation will come down in the next couple of years back to 2% target? I guess that's part one. And B, do you think it will be very painful?
So here's the thing. I am always wrong about these things. So we're going to say it's going to be horribly painful and inflation is not going to come back down ever. So you're welcome, America.
That's a very grim outlook of wheelbarrows full of money that are worthless.
Yeah, but no, I think that it might take more than a couple years to get back down to 2%. I suppose if they are continuing on this trajectory of near vertical, I'm looking at this graph right in front of me, near vertical rate increases. If they keep going up like that, then we could probably get it back down within a couple of years. But because of the overall trend in the global economy, it's a little cloudy because it's not just America. It's everywhere. Everywhere is experiencing inflation. You probably saw the British pound last week tanked in value last Monday, I believe it was. And this was, and it's interesting because the government of the UK and the Bank of England seem to be on differing sides of how they want to attack the problem, because the new prime minister just announced and has reinforced her stance that they're giving tax cuts to, I believe, the wealthier upper class.
Which does it, just politics aside,
yes,
from an economics perspective, doesn't fight inflation.
No. And the markets were quite upset about this because everyone was like, hey, we're trying to slow things down a little bit, fight inflation. Sorry. Yeah, we're trying to slow things down a little bit. We're trying to fight inflation, innit? While you're lowering the tax rate, yeah?
No.
So much so that the Bank of England had to buy up a bunch of, they call them gilt.
Well, they had to do QE.
Yeah, they had to do
bonds. It was because pension plans were essentially over leveraged, and they started to have to sell while basically you have quantitative tightening. Basically, too much selling of bonds started to take place all at once, and the bank had to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is a crisis. We gotta
wait. Let's hold on a minute.
We're trying to tighten, but we can't tighten right now. We gotta just take a breather from the tightening real quick.
But here's the thing: the Central Bank of England is going through with tightening, trying to slow down the economy in order to like raising rates in order to combat
they were
inflation.
trying, and then
they were.
Then they had to be like,
but then the central government is on they're attempting to fight inflation with growth rather than contraction, which is the exact opposite, which is why the bank suddenly had to fight growth by lowering taxes.
But what you mean by that is they were trying to fight inflation but they're not fighting inflation, essentially.
Yes, not restricting it like the central bank is, but because they seem to be not aligned on this, it.
So here's the thing it's interesting to me, though, is in this situation, right? People are, especially in equities, they're looking to hopefully time a bottom. People expect, okay, as interest rates continue to rise, stocks will contract, which might be counterintuitive as far as like, okay, well, if money becomes less valuable and there is inflation, wouldn't you expect that share prices would inflate with it? But if interest rates rise, then with the discounted cash flow model, it reduces the value of future returns on companies, which then causes multiples to contract. But people are going to try to time a bottom. They're going to be, okay, so has the Fed raised interest rates? We're up to 4% now on the Fed funds. We're up to 5% now on the Fed funds. Okay, this must be the end. And then they'll have to stop, and we're going to see a V-shaped recovery. The problem is, if we see a V-shaped recovery that then lends itself to the wealth effect of people saying, okay, stocks are going up again, that will then cause increased spending, which then defeats the purpose of everything that's accomplished. So there needs to be a crash that remains kind of level for a while. If we see a V-shape, they're going to have to jack up the interest rates further. That's my hypothesis.
That's what happened, because that's what happened after COVID. I had a crash followed by skyrocketing right back up, and it kept going, and now here we are.
I don't think we can see a V-shaped recovery, because that will then facilitate
It'll
inflation.
put us back where we were.
Yeah. So it's like it has to be, we have to hit this, in my mind, and again, could be totally wrong. In my mind, we have to hit kind of a baseline where markets kind of chill for a bit within a range, and there's not some extreme level of growth that just resurfaces. And if interest rates remain high for a while, then that certainly could be the case. But we can't just resurge back up to all-time highs in the market.
Not again.
Because we go right back to square one. We're going to have to really...
Yeah, we already did that.
We have to really like grow back into it.
It's got to be a slow and steady...
That's my hypothesis.
Soft boil.
At least.
Not rolling. Yeah.
Who knows if it actually plays out that way? I could be completely off base, and maybe there is a V-shaped recovery, but I do think then that will end up kicking the can down the road a little bit. So
yeah, which everyone wants to do because no one wants it to be their fault.
Mm-hmm. It's I mean, this has been in the works for quite some time.
People have been talking about this for over a year.
Well, I'm just saying, like, the accommodative monetary policy it's been ongoing. It's been through multiple presidential administrations, and then COVID obviously kind of sent it into a perfect storm. But it's been brewing for an extended period of time. So, like, saying we don't want anyone to be blamed specifically, you can't just assign one person blame for what's happening. People want to, yes, obviously.
But yeah. Ooh, water. I'm going to do that.
It's a good idea. I just feel like if I tried drinking from something that big, I would just like get this big surge of water and then it would just spill everywhere.
It's really fun when you forget that you drank it all, because I'm expecting to pull up this heavy thing, and I've done it before. I wish it happens again because it's so fun to just go. It's just fun because it's like a funny little happening. But yeah, I'm glad. I actually told Jordan, I told you before this recording, I just got I'm sorry, Mike. I just got my gallons back. I've been using a water bottle for the past week or two, and I've had to refill it 5 or 6 times a day, and that's why I have the gallons. I don't bring them outside of the house.
But what about See, people are going to say that's wasteful of plastic. What about just having a filter and then you faucet, filter, pour into the...
Well, oh, yeah, I refill these many times.
Oh, okay, gotcha. It's just that is full of fresh water and then you refill it periodically.
Yes. And so, yeah, because with the bottles, if I was going through those faster because it's more refill per container. So I didn't want to waste because I had this recycling bin full of plastic bottles and thought, I don't like this. And also I don't like refilling them. So yay. And then it'll last me a while. So how much water you drink a day?
Quite a bit. I have to refill my pitcher thing probably 4 times a day or so.
Oh, the whole pitcher 4 times?
It's like the oval kind of call.
The one in the fridge, the little fridge?
Yeah.
The Brita?
Yeah, the little one.
Okay.
Like 4 times a day.
So
just the little top portion.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good amount of water. Water's good. Let's take another.
You know,
cheers.
I'm not regularly incredibly thirsty, and I haven't died of dehydration yet, so it does the trick, I think.
Yeah, I just find if there's something near me, I will drink it. And so I just always have this sitting here. I used to walk my dog, Minnie. Here's Minnie. I'll put it up in a picture. Oh, I should show you Minnie. What am I doing?
I don't think I've ever seen Minnie.
Oh, well, I don't have an Apple, so I'm going to email myself the photo from my phone. While I'm doing that, when I was walking Mimi, when I was watching, that's the title. While I was walking her, I had this water bottle. Anything I had in my hand would be gone when I got back home from around the block or down the street. And so sometimes it was too much, but I always just have the water near you, and I think you'll drink more of it.
I agree. It's kind of like just a compulsive habit. Like, what is there anything to talk about at this moment? No. Okay,
it's like I've been playing with this bread, doing this for the past 15 minutes, just because it's there.
Got it. Yeah, you could have been drinking water. You could have been much healthier.
Oh, that's true. See, bread is the enemy of.
So you're saying you will experience water inflation if you have water next to you at all times.
Water does inflate bread if you put them together, to be fair.
Ay. All right. Well, I feel like we're winding things down, and we'll send you off with a dog picture, which is probably why you came here in the first place, hoping to get a dog picture. But yeah, that's our conversation on inflation. I do think inflation
that rhymes. That's
a conversation
great.
on inflation. That could be the title even. Is that catchy enough? I don't know. I don't know if a rhyme is catchy enough for YouTube. This is also long. It's not like a 15-second TikTok thing. How do we get people to be interested?
If you suggest this video to 10 of your friends, we will pay you $500.
Yeah.
All legal liability. I refer you to Jordan.
Yep. No, it's.
I'm just kidding. You can sue me.
We'll kick the can down the road a little bit on that one.
Topical, thematically in line. I just got an email. Who could this be from?
Gimme. I'm waiting eagerly for this finale here.
She's old. She's 14.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What a good girl.
She's all white, and she is. She's all white and gray. She doesn't even need a leash. She'll just walk right beside you. And,
what a good
she's
girl.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know what? With all that talk of inflation, I think we could use cute dog photos. So, thanks for watching.
Send us some.
Marginal advice. Make sure you're following on all the platforms that are relevant or wherever you like to listen to or watch this. I don't know, but it's been a good one. And anything else?
Bread.